Welcome to the Can You Even podcast, a space where real life stories prove that no matter what life throws your way, you can. I'm your host, Candace McCormick, and as someone living with spinal muscular atrophy, I've faced my own share of challenges, but I've learned that with the right mindset, anything is possible. On this podcast, I have the privilege of sharing stories from incredible people who have faced life's twists and turns, overcome challenges, and found their own version of you can. These conversations are all about finding strength, hope, and purpose, even in the hardest moments. So get comfy, turn up the volume, and get ready, because these stories might just shift your perspective in a way you never saw coming. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Can You Even podcast. I'm very excited to introduce my next guest, Cara Poppitt. You guys, when I read her little summary, there was a lot of things that I'm excited to chat with her about, but I'm going to pass it over to you, Cara, let you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Candace. So my name is Cara, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I have 3 young children, 8, 10, and 13. So I definitely understand the hard of motherhood and the joy, the hard and the joy.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm also an entrepreneur. So I own a few different companies. My main one is Soul Connection. It's a dance, yoga, and fitness studio in Calgary. I also own Studio Fine Arts Club, which is a syllabus-based company that's international, helping dance studio owners create daytime revenue and spark creativity in young children as early as age 2. And then my latest thing that I'm working on is Big Freaking Change. So it is going to be the branch for all my group coaching, personal coaching, my book, and also my speaking engagements. So I'm an international keynote speaker and tapping into that world. And let me tell you, that world is also hard.
I agree. So, well, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of little tidbits in there where you've definitely been through some hard times being an entrepreneur and all that. But one of the things that you mentioned in your little info form was that actually as a young child, you had a learning disability that related to reading and writing. And as you just now said, now you're an author. So
Yes.
maybe let's start there because I think we all have different types of hard.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of that is just showing how people came through that and still accomplished their goals.
Yeah. I love your podcast because of that. I think often we see somebody else and we assume, oh, their life was easy, or they're so lucky, or I wish I could be them. And we judge people because of the outside, and we have no idea what they went through on the inside and what led them to that. So yes, I think one of my biggest accomplishments besides my children is writing the book. And it was very hard. I felt like I was supposed to write a book for 10 years. I waited for 10 years. I waited for more time, more energy, more money, just like everybody else. I was raising my family, feeling pulled in a million directions. But even as a young person, people would say, oh, one day you're going to be a motivational speaker and you're going to write a book. And it was this, sometimes when you just show up as you are, you think nothing about it. Like that's just who you are. And other people will see your brilliance and your light. So as a young child, I had a learning disability. Reading and writing was very hard. So comprehension, like I could read and then they'd be like, what was this about? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like I just had a disconnect. And I was probably the hardest working student you've ever met. I did all the things. My mom was so dedicated to helping me. I did Hooked on Phonics after school. I did, extra learning lessons, Sylvan Learning Center, like all the things. And I remember this one session, there was a discussion about how behind I was. And my parents didn't really want to tell me the details, I think to protect my confidence. But my brother, on the other hand, was fine to tell me and told me. And I was devastated that I was 4 years behind when they did an assessment. And what I can tell you with writing a book is most things, like Marie Forleo says, is figure outable if you have grit. And I had grit. And I think that my work ethic has served me, beyond elementary. I went into university. I graduated with top grades because I learned at that point, how I learn best and what I have to do to get the marks. And so Now I think my daughter has a little bit of learning differences, I like to call it. And she's brilliant in so many ways. And I see the challenges, and it kind of gives me a glimpse of my childhood. And I just keep showering her with praise. Like, you are so smart. You're so dedicated. You're so hardworking. Like, we're just going to do things differently, and really try to boost her confidence. Because I think if you have someone that believes in you and believes in your confidence, you can you can accomplish really anything and override insecurities or challenges to become your strength one day. So writing the book now, like when I finished it, it was 5 years in the making, like hardcore.
Wow.
I don't know how some people just whip out a book. Like, I just don't get that. It was not me, and I'm really proud of it. I think it's going to help a lot of people make change. There's a lot of research into it, and it's a personal accomplishment just because I think as a child with a learning disability, you carry that into adulthood, even though if it's no longer serving, it's kind of like a soft spot, a limiting belief. And overcoming it has really helped me. And I think relate to more people too, because people can look at me and go, oh, you've done all these things, but they have no idea the path and the hard work and the path that brought me there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important to say is like, I think we can sometimes hang on to those things. And when we continually tell ourselves, like, oh, I'm not a good writer, or oh, I can't read really well. And even though we're not vocalizing them, but every time we do something, we say it to ourselves, or we point it out to ourselves, it actually makes you like more aware of it, and you end up doing that more.
Yes.
And so I think that can be really hard on our confidence levels if we don't have the right people around us to encourage us and, praise us and give us that encouragement and everything.
Yes.
So
yes,
I know that one of the things that you talked about that I would love to dive deep into is you talk about this model of confidence that we have in society is backwards.
yes,
That really piqued my interest. And so I think confidence really does play a big role in our everyday life and feeling and giving us that feeling that we can or cannot do something. And so maybe you can share a little bit about that.
yes,
Sure.
absolutely. So kind of a wide stage for this is, whenever we're stuck in life, we think something's wrong with us. And I believe being stuck is an alert. It's an indicator showing you that there's something more available to you, but you need courage to tap into it. So when we're stuck in life, we wait to feel ready, we wait to feel confident, and then we take action. And the sad reality for most of us is we wait, I call it in the wings because I'm a dancer, we wait in the wings of life forever, and we never step out, we never take center stage, we never show our brilliance because we're waiting to feel ready. And the real model of confidence that I believe is we start with action, we develop our confidence, we feel ready, and we get unstuck. But we get unstuck last. And most people, including myself, we want to get unstuck first. And so it hurts our confidence. And it's through taking action that we develop our confidence, but we don't talk about this. We think, even if you look at how we've evolved in society, are you ready for school? Are you ready to get married? Are you ready to start your job? Are you ready to have a baby? We're always asking people, are you ready? And my core message is that readiness is not a state of being. It's a feeling that comes after you take action. So you have to start with action, and you cannot be ready for something that you have not done before, because our brain is wired for safety and not success. So our brain is a prediction machine, and it wants to keep everything consistent. And that is why the model of confidence is backwards. And, saying to people, just be more confident is like one of the worst things we can do, because it's like, okay, great. You see that I'm not confident. Like, thanks for calling that out. Like, that's not helpful. So I tell my dancers, the women I coach, the work that I do is we need to be prepared. And preparation is different than readiness. So be prepared, take action, and you develop your confidence. Confidence is the result of action. It's learning to trust yourself over time.
That I feel like you are speaking to my soul right now.
Yeah.
I feel like everything you just said has literally been my mindset of I am not ready to do all of these things. I've done a major life shift myself over the last year. I was an event planner for 10 years, and then due to some of the changes in my disability, I had to let that go. And then I wasn't really sure what I was doing. So I also am stepping into this podcaster world, and again, putting it off. I was like, oh yeah, I'll launch it next year, and now next year's here. And so I was like, oh, but I don't have all of the things that I need. And finally I was just like, you just got to do it scared.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
every part of what I'm doing is scared. I also have a coach, and she was like, no, your brain is looking for proof that you're ready, but you will never be ready unless you just start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's such a powerful message, because you're right. We all think like, as soon as I'm confident enough, I'm going to take the action. But whenever you take one tiny little step in that and you do it and you get a result, you're like, okay, I can do this. And I think that that's very interesting. I especially think that is very interesting that it has really stemmed from a lot of your dancing background.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, being a dancer, you have to have a very like physical strength, but I think your mental strength about that as well, because that takes a lot of confidence into getting out on stage and performing.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say to you, the other thing is you said you've kind of waited approximately 10 years
Mm-hmm.
to pivot your career into this speaking and authorship. Maybe you can touch a little bit about, again, maybe what was holding you back, and then what was like the thing where you were like, okay, I'm just doing it.
Yeah. Like many people, we wait for more time, more energy, more money. So I talk about resources, right? We think we don't have enough resources to do what we want to do. I was a young mom, raising my children. My husband was away as a pilot, gone for huge amounts of time. And I had to, take care of them, work full time, do the house, do the things. And I just kept waiting, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. And then unfortunately, one of my best girlfriends, her name was Claudia, she was diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer. And she said to me, she was over for dinner and she couldn't eat. She was having soup broth. And she said, Cara, you have time. I would love for more time. And she had 2 young daughters and a husband. And she's like, you have to do it. Like, this is what you're meant to do. And it really, death has a way of waking us up, shifting our perspective, and really kicking my butt to go, what the hell? Like, I have one life to live. I'm watching my friend pass, and she would have loved more time. So she was really the catalyst. And she told me, she's like, she called me Mamacita. She's like, Mamacita, this is what you're meant to do. Like, why are you second guessing yourself? And I think sometimes we just think things are automatic to us, right? That, if I do it like this, then it's common. And sometimes we don't see our gifts. And she really saw me, like she saw how I showed up for dancers, how I showed up for women. And she just knew I had this wisdom. And so she gave me this boost of confidence, really, to get into action. So I signed up for a course because I was like, if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a damn good book. And I'm probably only going to write one book in my life because this shit is hard, right? So I signed up for a course with AJ Harper. She wrote a book called Write a Must Read. So if you are interested in writing a book, highly recommend you purchase the book. It's incredible. But I took her training. It was virtual in New York City. And, it was a 12-week program. And I remember feeling so intimidated by the other people in the room. I'm like, whoa, these people have PhDs and they're doctors and they're like next level and they're writing their like 5th book. And, and I was so scattered, like with my message. My coach was like, Cara, you got like 10 books in here. Like, we got to like narrow the focus. And, now I can say I had so many hiccups. My publisher, so I got a publisher, then my editor left the company, and I was pretty sad because it takes a while to get in flow with an editor. So I was like, okay, this is just part of it. Here we go. And then I was going on a speaking tour for 2 weeks last January. And the night before I'm leaving, I get an email from the publisher saying, like, I need to have a meeting with you. It's very important. So I meet with her in the morning, right before my flight. I get my 3 kids off to school. Like, I'm like hustling, packing my bag. And I'm like, okay, what's up? And she told me she was closing the company. And I was like, oh my word. And I was devastated. I was mad. I was angry. I was scared. I was like, okay, maybe this isn't meant to be. Like, this is just way too hard. Like, it was hard to get a publisher. I had an editor. She left. Now my publishing agent is done. And I got to like re-shop this book around. And maybe it's just, not meant for me.
Right.
And again, fear comes in. And then I asked myself, if I never did this, would I live with regret? And it was like, yes, of course. Like, you will not know anything until you try, but it's trying that makes it come to life. And the interesting thing was when I was with this group, like there's a Harvard professor, there's multinational leaders, like really accomplished people. And I asked them, I said, what gets in the way of you doing what you really want to do in life? And they all put in the chat, lack of time, lack of time, lack of time. I'm like, okay. If I could give you way more time and money was not an issue, what else would get in the way? And it was dead silent. And then the Harvard professor wrote first, not feeling ready. And the next person writes, not feeling ready. And it was like, who am I? I'm not feeling ready. And I was like, holy Hannah, if these astute leaders with doctor degrees and, they're really the movers and shakers of the world. And I've never been in a room with so much brilliance. I'm like, man, if these people don't feel ready, like how is anyone supposed to feel ready?
I was just thinking that. I was thinking, what's interesting about that is you are in this room with very accomplished and intelligent people. But guess what? You were all there for the same reason. You were looking for the knowledge and education and tips to write the book that's going to sell. And so I think that's very powerful in itself, because we often think like, I'm not ready because I'm not as accomplished as other people that we're seeing. I've definitely and probably still fall into that mindset as well. But I also say to people, like, you can't become accomplished if you don't try.
Yes. And you know what? It's effort more than anything. I mean, there's people that were way more intelligent than me that didn't complete their book and did the course. And it's hard. Like writing a book is hard because you have to meet the reader where they're at. You have to get out of your own way to walk them through a journey. You have to figure out your teaching principles. You have to figure out what stories are going to serve people, what aren't, what's too much, what's not enough.
Yeah.
I probably went through like 100 versions, and there was, I would say every month I'd be like, maybe this isn't for me. Like, maybe I don't know what the hell I was thinking doing this, So I tell my people and my readers and, my students, my children, that you have to learn to embrace fear. Fear does not go away. I was scared the whole time. I'm still scared. I'm like, okay, now I have this book. What if it's not that great? Like you think it is, but you can get in your own way too. And I teach my students this, and my children especially, that you don't wake up one day feeling confident. Confident is a muscle. Just like working out, you work out to feel your best.
Yes.
You can't work out once and then be in shape the rest of your life. It doesn't work out that way. You can't just be confident one day and feel like you have your confidence for life.
Right.
It's a mindset, and you have to work hard for it. There's days like I teach on confidence. And there's days I do not feel confident, and people sometimes are shocked. They're like, how come? Or if I go out on stage and I'm nervous before people are like, you still get nervous? I'm like, yes, because it's important work. And I tap and I pray, and people think it looks crazy, but it's what I need to get into my flow and my state. And so I tell my dancers this, and I'll tell your listeners this, that fear and excitement have the same physiological response in your body. So the same chemicals are being released through their body, but it's your brain that gets to label it. And so I don't fight the fear anymore. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little nervous, but I'm feeling excited. All right, let's go. And I listen to music and I get myself pumped up, and then I can enter with, my highest intention, which is to serve. And I think when you can get out of your own way to realize, what are you really doing this for? For me, it's to help children, people, women develop their confidence through action, and really understand that it's courage that we need more than confidence. And courage is accessible to all of us, but you have to do the hard things. You have to go through hard. Like my life has not been easy. From the outside, it probably looks that way. I have messy parts. I'm going through a messy part of life, and there's going to be highs and lows, but it's what we do with the highs and lows that can allow us to transform in the journey.
Yeah. That's like exactly what I think too. And that's why I wanted to start this podcast and have people, is that, with the world of social media out there, we do see the highlight reels of everybody's life. And that, I think, adds a whole new level of confidence, either confidence building or knocking it down a little bit, because it's like so much easier to compare yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think like that's very powerful in the sense of just knowing that it's the courage and it's not the confidence for you to step into that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go back a little bit. I feel like you touched a big point of some of the messaging when you were chatting about your friend who had cancer and she wanted more time and she told you that she had that time. I think that to me is very relatable. My disability affects my muscles. And so I always say to people, you have the time. You just have to choose where you're focusing your efforts. But the biggest thing is like, I'm going to be very blunt. I get a little frustrated with people when they complain about going to the gym or driving to their job. These are things that I need assistance with. And so I think like your friends messaging being like, you have the time, take it. I always say to people, you have the ability to do it. So just do it. Find the time. If it's truly important to you, it doesn't matter all of the hurdles that get placed in your way. Like you were saying, your publisher and your editor and all that changed. And you could have been like, okay, the universe is being like, nope, no go. But on your heart, you were still like, I have to write this book. Right. And I think like those things really speak to all the different hard that you have gone through and will still continue to go through probably as you get ready to put the book into the world and do all the book tours and all those things. And I think that that's really powerful too, is that, it just goes to show that confidence isn't really the be all end all of it. And when you can kind of put that at the back of your mind and step into those actions and just let nothing stopping you, you can really achieve your goals. So
100%. And Candace, so many people look for reasons, myself included. Our brain is wired for negative default. Yes. So we have to work extra hard for positive, but we focus on the reasons why things can't work or shouldn't work or what's wrong with it. And we have to make an extra effort to think of what could go right. So I always say my purpose has to be bigger than my pain.
Yes.
My purpose has to be bigger than my pain, because the reality is we all have pain. We all have insecurities. In dance as a young child, like I was very gifted in dance. It was this beautiful outlet for me where I could be fully expressed and I couldn't think of anything else. And I was shining, right? In school, I was like behind the kid that had to work. But in dance, I was like the spotlight.
Right.
And it developed my confidence, of course. And there were also times where, as a teacher and coach, like I grew up in a studio that was not empowering. The coaches cut us down. Like it was probably like one of the worst places you could have danced. But opening a studio, it also served me of like, I will never be like that. I will boost these kids. I will love on these kids. I will teach them life skills beyond the studio wall. And that became my mandate. And so it's like, sometimes when you have pain or things that don't go well, you can use it as fuel to make things better for other people. And that's obviously what you're doing. Like you're a proof of this, that everybody has challenges, everyone has setbacks, and you're still moving forward, right?
Yeah.
You're still embracing hard and you're still making an impact. And that's a beautiful thing to see, Candace. So
thank you.
Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you. Yeah. It's funny because people always like tell me like, you're so positive and you're so inspirational. And it's probably taken me till now to be like, okay, I am, because to me, I am just living my life. It's very normal to me.
Yeah.
But I also tell them like, I could have been a person that was like, as I got older and learned all the things I couldn't do, been like, nope, can't do that. Nope, can't do that. Not going to try. I think, funnily enough, I think I had more confidence when I was a child, because I do remember moments in my life where I'd like go to my parents and I'd be like, can I go do this? And my parents were like, I don't know, go try. Right. But that like instilled in me to the point where like there's moments where when I say this, I'm like, somebody's going to hear this message and think I'm crazy. But as much as I'm very aware that I'm in a wheelchair, I never grew up feeling like I was different or disabled. I just did things differently. And so I think that has benefited me. But then as a kid, you just don't really care what people think. And you know what I mean? So like, it's a little bit easier. And then as I've aged and changed careers, and part of my change too has been weirdly difficult when you're diagnosed and told that you aren't going to live to be very long. It's almost like a struggle to plan for the future. And so I think that right now has been where my falters have been, is I'm like, well, if I plan for this and I don't do it perfectly now, I might not get to execute it to its full extent. But I've had to learn to just like let it go and do it anyways, because I do feel that my message is important and sharing what I do when it comes to accessibility and disability representation is important. And whether I only get to do it 5 times or 5,000 times, all the times are going to be worth it. So
it's a beautiful
I
message.
still have to tell myself that very regularly to keep my confidence like going and encouraging, taking the next step and doing the next thing. So yeah, like thank you for saying that, because I think we can all get lost in our own heads and our own thoughts and stuff like that.
And it's normal. Like I tell women, especially, that we are way more similar than we are different. But we don't talk about the hard times. We don't talk about like social media. We put our best moments. Like I don't put on, I wake up, I sleep on my side and my face, it's like all wrinkled. Like I'm not like, hey, I just woke up feeling so great. I put my makeup on and do my hair and then maybe I post. So it's, we are just more similar than we are different. And if we can take time to see people on a deeper level than what they do, but really who they are.
Yeah.
You can get to deep connection, you can get to impact, you can get to purpose. And I think that's what's happening for you is I think as children too, I can relate to that. I moved to Mexico when I was 17 by myself.
Oh, wow.
I finished high school and I got a job in a hotel as a dancer at a 5-star family resort.
Okay.
And I made $500 a month. I had a bicycle. And I was so happy. Like all my room and board was covered. I'm meeting people from all over the world. I'm training in dance. I'm dancing in shows, like living my best life.
Totally.
And then I went to the Dominican Republic, got another job, and dancing was just like, it was just my love. And what I can tell you is, and then I went traveling all over Europe by myself, as a girl with a backpack, and I met up with people at different times, but I was essentially by myself for 4 months. And I don't think I would do that now. So it's like when you're younger, your confidence is different. You see fears different. You see your limitations differently. And sometimes I have to remind myself, I'm like, Cara, you did all this. Like you can do this. Like it's fine, you know? So I guess the message for your listeners is we all have insecurities. We all have to work on flexing our courage muscle to get to confidence. You can take small steps, but that's the beauty of life is it's going to unfold. Nobody has a guarantee in life. You expressed, you don't know how much time you have, and that's very real. And none of us do, right? We might have, different challenges or, tragedy happens to all of us.
Yes.
So I think it is, it's one thing to say, be in the moment, do all the things. And it's another thing to actually be in the moment and do all the things.
Yes, absolutely. I like to wrap up podcasts by asking my guests if they can either share, whether it's a quote or an tangible action step that they can take, no matter what kind of hard they're going through at this time. Is there something that you would say helped you through a hard time? And once you got to that other side, or gave you the encouragement to know that you can do?
Yes. So in my book, I have exercise and a tool called the cycle of change. And it's 8 steps. So the first step is you acknowledge you're stuck. So you acknowledge that something's going on. And again, it's an indicator that there's more available. Then you identify the actual change you want to make. So I list out 8 different types of change that are predominant. Then we go into managing our mindset, that we have to actively manage our mindset. So limiting beliefs, old stories, all of that. Then we build momentum inside of our comfort zone. And this is something that most people miss is they just go big or go home and then they relapse. And so I think it's the art and it's the habit of training yourself that you can just flex it a little bit. And then the next step is you invest in yourself. And this is often missed as well, is that it's different than self-care. So investing in yourself is with intention and reflection. So, I'll go for a deep tissue massage and I tell the masseuse, like, I know you're probably a great person. I just really need quiet. And I don't really want to talk, but please go deep, find anything, dig for gold, like get it all there. But in the massage, I will tell my highest self, tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what I need to see. What is my next step? Like I actually talk to myself. And when the masseuse is working on my head, I'm like, I am removing thoughts that are no longer serving. On my shoulders, I am letting go of stress that I'm carrying that I don't need to carry. Like I'm so intentional.
Yes.
And huge awareness comes. Like it is like the best thing I could do for myself is a massage, but it's going to be different for everybody.
Right.
So you invest in yourself. And then after you invest in yourself, you think of it as like a battery. You're fully charged, you have more resources, and then you act boldly. And acting boldly is outside of your comfort zone. So it is something that scares you. It is the big change you want to make. And after you make that change, you learn to enjoy the journey. And this is hard, right? We often say, once this happens, then that, or once I get this, I'm going to do this. But we have to learn to enjoy the journey, myself included. I have to remind myself, okay, you're going through this book launch. It's really exciting. It's a lot of work, but take a moment and enjoy the journey, right? It's not just launching the book. It's spreading the word and making an impact. So you learn to enjoy the journey. And then after you learn that, you unlock your confidence. And this is the beautiful part where we go, oh, I just realized I could do this. And then, my friends, you get stuck again. But every time you get stuck, you now have a cycle, you have a model of how to navigate change, how to make shifts. And you can do a lot of small steps that lead to massive change. And it's the beauty of the unfolding, right? It's the beauty of life. And so for all of the listeners, I would encourage you to take action, stop waiting to feel ready. Ready doesn't exist. And confidence always is the result of taking action.
I love that. I feel like I do a few of those things, but I don't do all of them. And maybe that's where I'm getting back to that stuck part a little bit faster. So thank you for sharing that with everyone.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, this is part of your book, Big Freaking Change. It's being released in June of this year.
Yes, June 17th.
Okay.
And pre-orders are happening now. So if you choose to buy a book, you will get a lot of freebies that are available right until the 16th, and then it's gone. So it's a workable, we have a fillable workbook that is really deep. It asks you some profound questions and can be a standalone book, or you can read it in tangent with the Big Freaking Change.
Okay.
There's a community online. There's some freebies. So if you go to www.bigfreakingchange, you can see all of the gifts that we're giving. And really, it's about helping people make change. So if you have a friend that wants to make change, it's great to do it with somebody else. And my biggest message is that when all of us step into our brilliance, we all shine brighter, and there's room for everyone.
Absolutely. I love that. Was there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure you shared today?
I think my closing comments will just be, trust yourself and flex your courage muscle, and things tend to work out.
Love that. And then lastly, where can people find you, follow you? Do you know where your books will be?
Yes. So they're where all books are sold. So Barnes and Noble in the States, Target, Indigo, Chapters, Amazon, local bookstores. If you go to the website, there's lots of links to retailers, and you can follow me at Cara Poppitt, Cara, and then Poppitt.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I am so excited for people to hear this because I think you gave really great information, actionable steps, and bits of information that people could actually just implement into their day-to-day as soon as they hear this. So
awesome.
Thank you for being a guest, and I look forward to following your journey.
Thank you. And good luck with everything. And congrats on all the work you're doing and how you're showing up in the world. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Can You Even podcast. I hope you're walking away feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to tackle your own You Can moments. If you loved this episode, be sure to follow, rate, and review the show. It helps me reach more people who need a little extra You Can energy in their lives. And hey, if you have a story to share, I'd love to hear it. Head to itsmecandice.com/podcast to apply to be a guest on the show. Until next time, remember, no matter what life throws your way, you can.